The proverb, the Chinese proverb, I think it's actually attributed to Lao Tzu, where you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but you teach him how to fish and then you feed him for a lifetime. But in my research of coming up with that, I came up with a couple of others that I thought you might also enjoy. Give a man a fish and you fed him for today. Teach a man to fish and you can sell him fishing equipment. Teach a man to fish and you fed him for a lifetime unless he doesn't like sushi, and then you have to also teach him to cook. Give a man a fish and you fed him for today. Teach a man to fish and you fed him for a lifetime. Teach a man to sell fish and he eats steak. And the last one. Give a man a fish and you fed him for today. Teach a man to fish and he will sit in the boat and drink beer all day. Well, I hope that was worth the cost of admission. So, we need to give our next generation fish, metaphorical fish, and we need to teach them how to fish. But shaping our future generation can be frustrating and complicated. Most of us, I think, want to improve on what our parents did for us for the most part. Even if they did a fantastic job, we'd still like to do fantastic plus. And we'd like to raise independent thinkers, I think, who make good choices. But what does that really mean? Independent thinkers who make good choices. And what are the implications of prizing the individual as an independent thinker over the relationships of family or community? You see, we must also remember that we're not raising our children separate from the world. We're raising them in the world. Now, American novelist Don DeNilo wrote a dialogue that I think emphasizes some of the struggle and the frustration about what I want to talk about today, this concept of the new totalitarianism. And he wrote this dialogue in his book called White Noise. And in the scene, there's a father. When I'm the father, I'm going to stand over here. And there's a son, his 14-year-old son, and they're driving in a car, and I think the son is possibly a closeted Unitarian. But he's driving his son to school, and the son begins the conversation. It's going to rain tonight. It's raining now. Well, the radio said tonight. Look at the windshield. Isn't that rain? I'm just telling you what they said. Well, just because it's on the radio doesn't mean that you have to suspend your belief in the evidence of your senses. Now, he's on his way to school, so hang with me. Our senses are wrong a lot more often than they're right, he says. This has been proven in the laboratory. Don't you know about all those theorems that say nothing is what it seems? There's no past or present or future outside of our own mind. Even sound can trick the mind, Dad. Just because you don't hear a sound doesn't mean it's not there. Dogs can hear it, other mammals, and I'm sure that there are sounds that even dogs can't hear. Is it raining or isn't it? Well, I wouldn't want to have to say. Well, what if someone put a gun to your head? Who, you? Someone, I don't know, a man in a trench coat and smoky glasses, and he holds a gun to your head and he says, is it raining or isn't it? And all you have to do is tell the truth, and he'll put away the gun and take the next flight out of town. Well, what truth does he want? Does he want the truth of someone traveling at almost the speed of light in another galaxy? Does he want the truth of someone who's in an orbit around a neutron star? He wants your truth, and he's holding a gun to your head. So what good is my truth? My truth really means nothing. What if the guy with the gun comes from a planet in a whole different solar system, and what we call rain, he calls soap? And what we call apples, he calls rain. So what am I supposed to tell him? His name is Frank J. Smiley, and he comes from St. Louis, and he's still holding a gun to your head. He wants to know if it's raining now, at this very minute. Here and now, that's right. But Dad, is there such a thing as now? I mean, now comes and goes as soon as you say it. How can I say it's raining right now if your so-called now becomes then as soon as I say it? Just give me an answer, Heinrich. Well, the best I could do is really probably make a guess, Dad. Either it's raining or it isn't. Exactly. That's my whole point. You'd be guessing. See, 6.5, one dozen of the other. But you see, it's raining. Like it's raining. Now you see the sun moving across the sky. But is the sun moving across the sky, Dad, or is the earth turning? What is rain anyway? It's the stuff that falls from the sky and gets you what is called wet. Dad, I'm not wet. Are you wet? Well, no, I'm not wet. Very good, very good. No, seriously, are you wet? Well, that is just first rate, son. This is what I'm paying for. A victory for uncertainty and randomness and chaos. Definitely a display of science's finest hour. Now that is a conversation that maybe you've had bits and pieces of in your lifetime. Maybe you've had a conversation like this before, maybe even here in our foyer or in Emerson Hall. Or maybe in a religious education course here. Maybe at some point in your life you've sounded like the Father, sharing your faith in no-nonsense facts and the importance of reason. Or maybe you've played the role of the Son, arguing for the awareness of multiple perspectives or the limits of reason. Now, I do hope for you that at some time in this church, you will have been in a conversation about all of your assumptions about the world. Because there are not very many places in Tulsa where you can do that freely. What I want to talk to you about today is a cultural shift that is going on, I believe. See, Western civilization is in the midst of this cultural shift, one that finds values in both sides of that conversation you just heard. The Father's practical reason and the Son's concept of multiple perspectives. Both. There's truth in both. So we're shifting away from this oppositional position of one versus the other.